Hey everyone, how's it going and welcome back to Robot Boy, and in this video we're going to be taking a look at No Man's Sky Beyond just before the update releases tomorrow on Wednesday the 14th of August. I want to be discussing some sort of final concerns that people are having about the update and talking about stuff related to VR as well, just generally a sort of overview of what's to come. Because everyone's been hyping it up so much, I mean quite rightly so, but there's obviously some people still a bit concerned about, is there not enough content going to be in it, whatever, so I thought I'd break down that approach in particular and not just glorify the whole thing and take a look at that side of it as well, because yeah, there are people with concerns, so I want to address that and just discuss that really. So let's get right into it really. Before Beyond releases tomorrow, I want to get into the nitty gritty of some of the last few concerns that people are still having about the update. I think what's really bringing this on is the comparison to No Man's Sky Next, which was released this time last year, well, in July of last year, and the Next trailer was just mind-blowing, there's no doubt about it. We saw 3D character models, third-person ships, frigates, ringed planets, multiplayer with character models, new biomes, new base building elements, clouds. There was so much wow factor that you could show on screen, in addition to all of the smaller quality of life improvements. Whereas with Beyond, aside from some base parts and riding creatures, and I guess the Nexus at the very end, there wasn't really anything in this trailer that was very wowing to see on screen like No Man's Sky Next trailer. Beyond will come down much more to the moment-to-moment gameplay for what I can tell. Multiplayer is such a complex system, you can't really showcase it in a trailer. One reason why Sean himself has said, it was so hard to name the third pillar of the update and even release a trailer for it. We've seen the VR trailer released in March this year. The trailer that released last week kind of focused more on the multiplayer aspect, but even again it was hard to show that off really. We didn't see much of it because aside from the Nexus, it's hard to show multiplayer. Multiplayer is a very personal experience, exploring the galaxy with 16 players on console, 32 people on PC. The same with VR. The initial VR trailer wowed me, but VR is something you can't really show in a trailer. You need to experience it firsthand. It's a bit like trying to explain or like demo 4K on a 1080p screen. It's hard to do that, or HDR on a non-HDR screen. It's hard to really show that off. It's something you need to just experience yourself. So having a VR headset, well, borrowing one, which, come on, I might have it taken off me soon, so I really want to just get as much time in it as I can. But yeah, having the headset, I know what VR is like, and I'm imagining No Man's Sky in it, so that's why I'm excited about it. But if you didn't have a VR headset, I imagine it would be hard to really understand why that would be exciting. If you don't have one, then yeah, you wouldn't be excited at all, really. And that's one reason why I think overall VR is struggling to sell massively, but anyway, that's the topic for another video entirely. So moving on, one thing I've heard people share concerns about, for example, what if you play solo on Xbox? Well, multiplayer and definitely VR have no relevance to you. You can't access VR at all, and if you play solo, then the multiplayer element is useless. So Beyond is basically 60 to 80% useless, right? No, well, not really. And this is why the Beyond update exists as one update. In order to release all of these components, Pillar 1, 2, and 3, each one needs to coexist to complement the other one. You can't just have VR without the hugely improved detail and functionality of controls, the interior of ships, etc. Improving the elements that would affect day-to-day, moment-to-moment gameplay fits hand in hand with VR. And multiplayer is being built to work with all of the new features too. So you're not losing out by not accessing multiplayer or VR, but instead more people are going to be getting something that is at least relevant to them in some way. It's an update for everyone. And this update is, from what we know, at least twice as big as Next. Meaning Pillar 3, if we just do the maths here, is at least 2/3 of No Man's Sky Next on its own, dedicated to you. So 2/3 of the massive update from last year is completely dedicated to just 2.0 and improvements, which I think is a pretty decent amount. But again, and this is what's important to remember, that they don't stand on their own. VR content is applicable to you whether or not you play in VR. So VR isn't going to be just one patch note. It's not going to be like Pillar 1 VR and it just says everything playable in VR. moving on, there's going to be so many additions and fixes that would affect non-VR gameplay and carry over, and that's what's important to remember here. This is in addition to what I can only assume will be a massive improvement to optimization as a whole, which definitely needs to happen in order for the game to run at a stable minimum of 60 FPS on PSVR, and we all know that consoles are desperately in need of this optimization update, so that's definitely something to look forward to there. That's going to come with the VR being pushed forwards there. And again, it's something you will experience whether or not you play in VR or not. Now, Sean Murray has said, now, even if for some reason No Man's Sky 2.0 isn't enough for you, then again, don't worry. Sean Murray has said that there's plenty on the cutting room floor that didn't make it into this update that later down the line could. Now, this No Man's Sky 2 basically is a way to soft reboot the whole game, launch it off to new heights, and then stuff like new creatures or improved variation of terrain, etc. will come down the line, like how Visions did. Visions released a few months after Next and added to the variation, just focus solely on that. So I wouldn't put it past them to get essentially a Visions 2.0 for planets, you know, another variation update a little bit down the line. And also, like how we had Abyss focusing on updating underwater, I can only imagine that we'll see something similar to space soon. I think I've said this before, maybe it'd be called The Void, and I figured maybe we'd see that after the Abyss, maybe earlier this year, but now we know we've got Beyond. But yeah, I can imagine space being an important focus, because I will admit there hasn't seemed to have been much improvement on space, and I know that's a heavily requested thing. But yeah, if it's not a Beyond, it could certainly come down the line, so please don't worry about it. So this is not the end of No Man's Sky. This is, as Hello Games say, and keep repeating, this is just another step in the journey for them. And with VR, this is going to act as a massive selling point for players with VR headsets looking for new VR games, who maybe otherwise would never have been interested in No Man's Sky, but would now purchase it just for the experience of exploring an open universe in virtual reality. So all of this is just money in Hello Games' pockets to support them and continue to allow them to make new content for the game. So any way that they can access more people, the better, really. And I guess one thing I wanted to touch on as well that's been confusing a lot of people is, are planets more varied? There was something released, an article over the weekend that's mentioned something about multiple biomes per planet. Now, I think this has pretty much been debunked as not actually being true, and I think whoever was writing the article just wanted to phrase this differently. They just wanted to word it differently to stand out from the massive articles that were all kind of talking about the same thing. But I do feel like this has unfortunately led to misrepresentation of what will happen. So I wouldn't say go into it expecting half of the planet to be desert, the other half to be snow and ice. I don't think it's going to be like that. It maybe just means the variation and maybe the generation of the planets has been improved, so you're not seeing the same thing within a certain amount of space. You know, maybe there's a cluster of trees further away. It's something like that. From what I have seen so far, from what I can tell, I wouldn't expect too much to see multiple biomes per planet just yet. Maybe down the line, but just not yet. So I just wanted to clear that up. Anyway, that's it for today's video. Just wanted to talk about some of these, last few points before we go into No Man's Sky Beyond, which releases tomorrow. I'm very much looking forward to the update coming out, as I'm sure we all are. I can't tell you, I've got my VR headset ready, got my Move controllers ready, and I can't wait. Now, we don't know when exactly it's going to be releasing. I think Next released at 2 PM BST. I would imagine that it's going to release a similar time as Next did last year. So imagine around that sort of time and then figure out your time zone compared to that. Last thing I wanted to touch on as well was people are wondering why there's been no leaks or anything so far of the gameplay compared to Next. And okay, please forgive me, I couldn't find the article, but I definitely read it somewhere from an official source that said that the actual physical re-release of No Man's Sky with Beyond installed isn't coming till September. So I wouldn't expect tomorrow to see Beyond versions of the game hitting shelves. I think that is coming in September, so that's probably why people haven't found the Beyond versions yet and got them and played them and streamed them online or whatever. That's probably why. Yeah, as far as I know, it's coming in September, so it's not like, I don't think they've cracked down on it, unless that was their whole reason for doing it and releasing it in September, was that so people weren't leaking it. But yeah, from what I can tell, the physical re-release isn't happening tomorrow. If you know something more about it in the comments, please let me know. I might be wrong, but that's what I've seen. And again, I'm sorry I can't find the source for that. But anyway, tomorrow is the day. I'm actually going to try streaming, I think. I know I say this stuff all the time. But I actually might give it a go tomorrow and see how it goes, streaming in VR. But then everyone's going to be playing it, so who the hell's going to be watching me? Maybe I'll give it a go anyway, see how that goes. Anyway, that's it from me. this is it now. Tomorrow Beyond's coming. This is it. Goodbye from me. I'll see you guys tomorrow. As always, thank you for watching. If you're new to the channel, thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the video. And if you would want to consider subscribing, that would be massively helpful. And if you want to give the video a thumbs up as well, that would also be great. And if you really would like to help out, please consider heading down to my Patreon and supporting me over there. That would be absolutely fantastic. And anyway, that's it from me, and I'll see you all in the next video.